All right, Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh. Bahashem Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Rachak, Wadash, double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, wherever you may be. Shalom, Yeshua, Shalom. All right, we're going to get back into Acts chapter 7. All right, go through another portion here, dealing with Stephen's case before this council. All right, we'll pick back up a few verses back, because I really went down to like maybe verse 12 or so. We'll pick up at 9. So it says, and the patriarchs moved with envy, sold Joseph into Egypt, but the Most High was with him, and delivered him out of all his afflictions, and gave him favor and wisdom in the sight of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Yeah, because Joseph went through things. He got wrongfully accused, dealing with that woman, also wrongfully jailed. Okay, so, says, and he made him governor over Egypt and all his house. Says, and now there came a dearth. All right, moving into the more frequent scriptures. I mean, not frequent, but where we are now. All right, so it says, now there came a dearth over all the land of Egypt. A dearth is just going to talk about the famine. All right, it says a dearth over all the land of Egypt and Canaan and great affliction, and our fathers found no sustenance. Sustenance is pretty much, meaning food or whatever. All right. I guess we can get those words for you, because this should be a short session because there's a lot here. All right. Scarcity of harvest, famine. See, straightforward. All right. And then you have sustenance. And it says here, feed, fodder for animals, food. There you go. Food, vegetable sustenance, whether for men or flocks. Right. So food, okay? Which you probably heard me say that before. Sustenance, that word. Anyways, so it says, but it says that now there came a dearth over all the land of famine, and all the land of Egypt and Canaan, and great affliction, and our fathers found no sustenance. Okay, and we're gonna get a piece of that history there, because this is what Stephen was doing in his case. He was pulling out history, and when you sit down and really think about this whole case in this council here with Stephen, I'm pretty sure he made that council fiery hot, because you have to understand that these were, fair. Of course you have the Sadducees there too, but I mean, I don't think they're worth mentioning, but there was both. That's what the council was made of, Sadducees and Pharisees. All right. Especially when you're dealing with the Pharisees, they knew, all right, the Old Testament prophecies. They knew the law. All right. They knew all the ways. They knew those things. All right. They were Pharisees, not for any random reason. They were Pharisees for a reason. Even though they were wicked, I'm just making a point about them being Pharisees. So you have to understand, Stephen being just, as the scriptures say, how does he know this? You're not saying it was said about Stephen, but, having this man knowing letters, not having learned, or something like that, all right? Basically, you didn't learn from us, or, some synagogue or whatever. How you learn, you know these things that you know. So basically, him being able to go into all this history, pull it out, okay, speak it, and not miss a beat on it before this council must have made them fiery hot, because their position of loftiness, was based on the fact that they are the Pharisees. So once again, they understood the law in the Old Testament and all the prophecies and things of that nature. And for Stephen to bring these things out in his case fluently, probably pretty much made them fiery hot and angry, man. It's like, hold on, this nigga here, because of the pride, all right, their position, okay. Because you have to understand the other Israelites were under them. So for Stephen to bring that out before them, it's probably made them fiery hot, man. All right, so this is Genesis 41, continuing on, and we're gonna jump down here to verse 54. And it says, and the 7 years of dearth, you see, talking about the famine, began to come according as Joseph, he had said. And the dearth was in all lands, but in all the land of Egypt there was bread. And when all the land of Egypt was, and that's because also of Joseph and his wisdom. okay, about the dream. I think there was two different dreams, if I'm correct. But him interpreting those dreams as 7 years of famine. I'm sorry, 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. And so in the 7 years of plenty, all right, he told to store away a certain portion of all the increase, right, for those 7 years straight. So when the 7 years of famine came, there will be enough in the land. Check this out. So it says, and when all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread, and Pharaoh said unto all the Egyptians, go unto Joseph. What he said to you, do. And the famine was over all the face of the earth. And Joseph opened all the storehouses. Now, when it says all the face of the earth, it's not talking about the entire planet. All right. You just, as like when you hear, like when we talk about Alexander, the known where he conquered the known world. There was more places out there. It's just that he conquered what he knew about. Those were the main lands known about, okay? Because you had, lands where people were considered barbarians or whatever, like no man's lands, okay? No one's going there. Okay, so when this says all the earth, all the face of the earth, it wasn't talking about a famine hit the whole entire planet all at once. No. It says, and the famine was over all the face of the earth, and Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold unto the Egyptians. Now, I will say that the famine was kind of widespread, all right, given the fact that um his brothers and all them they came for food. So the famine was kind of across, it might have been across several lands, but not the whole entire earth. All right, so don't get confused how it says that. It says, and the famine was over all the face of the earth, and Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold unto the Egyptians, and the famine waxed sore in the land of Egypt. It says, and all countries came into Egypt to Joseph for to buy corn, because that the famine was so sore in all lands. You see, that's what I mean right there. All right. This famine reached other territories around. All right. But I'm pretty sure there were civilizations where, you know, people, didn't know about. All right. But as far as, according to the scriptures, this famine, if we say we spread out from Egypt, that famine went out, in the radius of Egypt pretty far, because it reached, his Joseph's family members. All right. And then it just said all countries. So, this famine was pretty widespread, all right, to a lot of different areas, okay, a lot of different countries, all right. So that was that little piece of history there. So we go back to verse 12. Says, but when Jacob heard that there was corn in Egypt, he sent out our fathers first. Talking about the patriarchs, the 12 sons, okay. That's what it means. It says our fathers, because clearly he's not talking about someone above him. It was Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, all right. So you can't make our fathers mean other people above that. Okay. Excuse me. He's talking about his 12 sons, or 11 sons, actually. Really, you can say 10, because, Benjamin stayed home. But you get my point, though. It says, and at the second time, Joseph was made known to his brethren, and Joseph's kindred was made known unto Pharaoh. Then sent Joseph and called his father Jacob to him, and all kindred 70 and 15 souls. All right, so which 70 and 15 souls will be 75. But the point I was about to make is this here is a very consolidated portion of that history there, because his brothers came there, and then we're not going to get into all that story, because to get into the whole account of the famine, we literally have to read the whole entire account of the famine, which that's a whole other read in itself, which is why I'm just going with Stefan's brief mentioning, and I'm just going to go into certain scriptures to mention those things. All right, because it says the second time. All right, so there's way more history to this famine and Joseph and his family members. All right, so yeah, it says, then sent Joseph and called his father Jacob to him, and all his kindred 70 and 15 souls. Now we can grab that history though. Go to Genesis 46. 26 says, all the souls that came with Jacob into Egypt, which came out of his loins, besides Jacob's sons, wives, all the souls were 66. And the sons of Joseph, which were born him in Egypt, were 2 souls. All the souls of the house of Jacob, which came into Egypt, were 70 and 10. And he sent Judah before him unto unto Joseph to direct his face unto Goshen, and they came into the land of Goshen. You see, and that's where the Israelites dwelt. Now, this is very important. Just about moving into the land of Goshen, as you go into, not I'm talking about in this chapter here. All right. Just mentioning the books of Exodus. All right. When you go into reading the books of Exodus, you understand, around the time where we were about to be released from Pharaoh's captivity, why Goshen was so important, because that's the place where the Israelites dwelt. And of all the places surrounding that, all the plagues hit all these places except for in Goshen, because the Israelites lived there. So Goshen was very important. It says they came into the land of Goshen, and Joseph made ready his chariot and went up to meet Israel, his father, to Goshen. I believe it's Goshen in Hebrew, but I'm going to see what it means real quick. Yeah, Goshen, drawing near, a region in northern Egypt, east of Lord. Now, the children of Israel lived from the time of Joseph to the time of Moses. All right. So it says, and presented himself unto him, and fell on his neck, and wept on his neck a good while. Because you have to understand, his father thought his son was long, long, long dead from this time. All right. And to see Joseph not only alive, but thriving very good. Okay. Because he was pretty much second in command in Egypt. Okay. So it says, and Israel said unto Joseph, now let me die, since I have seen, since I have seen thy face, because thou art yet alive. And Joseph said unto his brethren and unto his father's house, I will go up and shew Pharaoh, and say unto him, my brethren and my father's house, which were in the land of Canaan, are come unto me. And the men are shepherds, for their trade hath been to feed cattle, and they have brought their flocks and their herds, and all that they have. And it shall come to pass, when Pharaoh shall call you, and shall say, what is your occupation? That ye shall say, thy servant's trade hath been about cattle from our youth, even until now. Both we and also our fathers, that ye may dwell in the land of Goshen, for every shepherd is an abomination unto the Egyptians. And that is the story of how we ended up being in Goshen. All right. So going back, let me get this off. Verse 15 says, so Jacob went down into Egypt and died, he and our fathers, and were carried over into Sichem or Sechem, and laid in the sepulchre that Abraham bought for a sum of money of the sons of Emor, the father of Sechem. But when the time of the promise drew nigh, it says, but when the time of the promise drew nigh, which the Most High had sworn to Abraham, the people grew and multiplied in Egypt. Yeah, and that was a big problem. Okay. Genesis 15. Okay. And really the story, or not exactly completely, but the account of Joseph and Moses kind of intermingle, because at the end of Joseph's story, which also involved other Israelites, transitions to following Moses, but also the Israelites. Okay, because this is still centered around the time period of Egypt, right? So we had a great history in Egypt. I don't mean great as in good, okay, because we were slaves there. I mean a great as in there was a massive history there. Genesis 15-13, and he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve, which are the Egyptians, will I judge, and afterward, which were the plagues, and afterward, and also dealing directly with Pharaoh and his armies, they were destroyed. Okay, it says afterward shall they come out with great substance. And when we left Egypt, we spoiled the Egyptians. All right, we had everything that we need, from gold and clothes and cattle, all these different things, food, everything we needed, we spoiled from the Egyptians. Because at this point, after all those firstborn died, they was like, no, we got to get these Israelites the hell out of here, okay? Because if not, we're all going to perish. So they had no problem giving us everything that we needed, as long as we were leaving, okay? That's what it came to, all right? So as we go back, verse 18 says, it says, till another king arose, which knew not Joseph, all right? Transitioning from the time period after, Joseph and the Pharaoh that was over him, to a new Pharaoh, all right? At the time of Moses, all right? and the Israelites coming on the scene of that captivity. Okay, and this was a transition of time. It wasn't just exactly after that. All right, we went into Egypt, and then a new pharaoh arose, and then time went on, where eventually we became slaves under them. All right, because when we were living in Goshen, so that new pharaoh that came in, that was a great span of time right there. So it says, till another king arose, which knew not Joseph, the same dealt subtly with our kindred, and evil entreated our fathers, so that they cast out their young children, to the end they might not live. All right, and that's a major portion of the history there. All right, and this is a good read here. Let's go to Exodus chapter 1. Um, you see, Exodus chapter 1, verse 8. All right, now there rose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. All right, because we are special people. All right, we're the Lord's people. We have always been stronger and mightier and smarter and better than these other nations. All right. So it says, come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. Yeah. In their minds, they were thinking in the case where we have some enemies that besiege us and actually break through and come in our lands and fight actually battles on our lands. And these slaves here, they might rebel and say, hey, this is our chance to get freedom and join up and help this enemy nation. And then we got no chance of winning. We got to do something about this. And it's going to start with the Israelites, because we're not at war right now. Obviously not. So let's start with the problem that we can fix, which is these Israelites. So it says, verse 11 says, Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. Which is what your president does now. And these men of counsel and your Senate, your House, and all these things do. All right. Even governors are over cities. All right. They're just taskmasters, man. All right. Setting up things, that stems down from that power tree, which the top of that tree ends up at Esau, Edom, and in particular those banking families. It says, therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. All right, people can hardly live. We got to pay taxes and other things like that. And I'm just pairing this up with today's time. But let's keep reading. It says, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. Right, and these were built by us, right? So it says, verse 12 says, but the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. You see, the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. All right, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. It says what? And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. Let's get the word rigor here. Parak is the word there. It says harshness, severity, cruelty. All right, something you also hear me often mention. All right, now they're going to have to serve with rigor. Okay, let me see what else is here. Meaning to break apart, fracture. An example: severity, cruelty, rigor. So pretty much the same thing there. I don't think there's anything else that we need. All right, so yeah, it means harshness, severity, and cruelty. All right, that word rigor. So it says, and the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. All right, and all the nations are going to have to do, especially Esau Edom. He's got 1,000 years of rigorous serving. Okay, so it says, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and in brick and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. And if you pair it up today, then they have the slaves working in the cotton fields and stuff like that. Okay, tobacco fields and all these different things. All right, from some of these states. They have, these major industrial areas. North Carolina being one of them, which is where I am, right? A lot of fields here, okay? Anyways, it says, and the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, all right, of the basically like you have today in the hospitals, all right, where you have, doctors that deliver babies, Okay, so wicked. You got male doctors. You got gynecologists that are males, and it's just weird ass place, man. Okay, no one wants another man looking between his wife or his daughter's legs, man. Like, come on. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. Let's see what their names mean. Shiphrah meaning fair. All right. He said, look, that's important too. One of the two Hebrew midwives who were ordered by Pharaoh to kill all the male children born to the Hebrews, but who disobeyed. Yeah, and these were women that were set up, as baby deliverers. And if it was a male child, to tell the women to kill the baby. How wicked is that, man? But of course, they feared the Lord, which is why they disobeyed. All right. Poor meaning splendid, fair and splendid, beautiful. It says same thing there. All right. Fitting names for those two. Fair and splendid. Shifra and Pua. So it says, which I didn't get the Hebrew pronunciation of those names. But anyways, it says, and he said, when ye do the office of a midwife, all right, when a child is about to be born, to the Hebrew women, all right, and see them upon the stools. If it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. And this is important because it goes to show you back in the ancient days, people understood, regardless of what nation you were from, people understood, unlike today's society, where people are way more stupid. People don't understand woman does not determine any nationality or have seed. She is the incubator. All right. Like you hear in the world, man, talk about that's my earth. Okay. Because in the man's sperm is his seed, and he plants his seed in the earth. Okay. Or he puts his sperm in the woman, which is how the baby is born. All right. The man holds life. The woman does not hold life. So they understood that back then. And as long as there's a female, if we killed all the husbands, the fathers, and the sons or whatever, and these would just be single women with children or just single, and that's it. No more Hebrew children are being born. And even if they're taken by, some other nation or the Egyptians in specific, since we're talking about them, those are going to be Egyptians, heathens that are going to be born to those Hebrew women. So they're only going to bring heathens into the world. All right. But if there be a son, because the men hold life, when that son gets old enough, he's going to have children, regardless if he does it with the Hebrew woman or one of the Egyptian women or any other woman. As long as it's a Hebrew man, he's going to bring more Hebrew children into this world. We got to stop that. We're going to stop it right here, nip it in the bud. From this day forward, all the male childs, kill them. So that way we can stop the lineage of Hebrew Israelites being born into this world. You see? So it says, and he said, when ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared the Most High, you see, and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men, children alive. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, why have ye done this thing, and have saved the men, children alive? And the midwife said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively and are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them. Let's see what the word lively means. Vigorous, lively, having the vigor of life. All right. They're bearing a lot of children. I mean, I just mean to be, if I'm correct, if that was the word. It says, for they are lively and are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them. As a matter of fact, let's see what this says in NLT. See if it reads different. Verse 19 says, the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women. The midwives reply, they are more vigorous and have their baby so quickly that we cannot get there in time, you see? Which was a bold-faced lie. Well, this was what they were calling the world a white lie, right? It was for a good purpose, all right? For their people. All right, so it says, Therefore, the Most High dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. See, and because they did what they did, the Lord put a blessing on those midwives. Right? It says, and it came to pass because the midwives feared the Most High, that He made them houses. You see, it says, and Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born ye shall cast into the river, and every daughter ye shall save alive. You see, so he's like, okay, since we can't stop the babies from being born, which they really could have been stopped, but the midwives feared the Most High, so they didn't go forward with it. So let's just get the same plan, but execute it in a different way. So all your male children, throw them in the river, and in the river they're going to drown, probably get eaten by a crocodile or something, alligator, right? So that's that piece of history there. As we go back to Acts chapter 7, and I didn't mean to read so much, but we can get a little bit more here in Acts chapter 7. Verse 20 says, and in which time Moses was born and was exceeding fair and nourished up in his father's house 3 months. Okay. And so it transitions to the story of Moses eventually. All right. Where he was one of those children that were ordered to be put to death or thrown in the river. All right. Where the Lord spared his life. Okay. We'll read a couple more here. It says, and when he was cast out, Pharaoh's daughter took him up and nourished him for her own son. And Moses was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians and was mighty in the words and in deeds. All right. So, getting to this. As a matter of fact, let's read this real quick. Speaking of that, let's go to Exodus, chapter 2. Right. Let's just read a couple here because we'll probably end up reading this again as we move forward. Says, and there went a man of the house of Levi and took to wife a daughter of Levi, and the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And that's talking about Moses. Okay. So it says, and when she could not longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes and daubed it with slime and with pitch. All right, basically to make it waterproof, so there'll be no seepage. I'm pretty sure she took the bulrushes. All right, because you have to think about, you've seen a river with those tall, not saying just any tall grass, but I'm just making an example here. Tall grass. All right, so just imagine, next to the bank of a river, it has, a bunch of grass and high weeds and things of that nature growing right next to a river. That's how the bulrushes probably were. There was a lot of bulrushes there, and so she was probably taking the bulrushes, laying them out, probably brushing over the bulrushes with slime, so that not only slime is covering the bulrushes itself, but also possibly so that they stick together, so there's no water seepage. And then she probably formulated, this little, ark, all right, type boat, all right, fitting for a baby, as in size, that is. And probably did the same thing on the outside of it, all right, to make full, waterproof. And then she set him on the river, which shows you what, that our women had knowledge of different things back then. I'm not saying of the level of a man or doing the things that men do. That's only today's society. Anything they can do, I can do better. No, you're not supposed to be doing what men do. Okay, you shouldn't be in the industrial field. You ride around through the city and see a woman with a hard hat on out there with the orange vest, with the men out there in the street tearing up pavement. Like, what the hell is she doing out here? Some things that women should be doing that men are doing. Hard labor jobs, man. But anyways, but they want equality, right? No, they don't. They don't want equality. What they want is power over the man. But anyways, another topic. And when she could not longer hide him, she took him for an ark of bulrushes and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags by the river's brinks. All right, laid it in this little, Let's see here. The reed, the rush, the water plant. You see, amongst all the, the growth there, the shrubbery and all those things next to the river, so he can hide. All right, because if you get a river and a bunch of tall grass and other things around it, your line of sight, your view, your perception is skewed. You can't really see too clear. So you're talking about a little small arc big enough for a baby. Of course, no one can see that from a distance. You have to get around like, what the heck is that? All right, and that's what happened. All right, it says he laid it in the flags by the river's brink, and his sister stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. And we know that later on, this is talking about Miriam, his sister. All right, so let's go back there because we'll probably end up reading that again. yeah, we'll probably stop right here and just, do another session when the spirit allows, just not to make this too long. So, just going through it bit by bit by bit, showing you, Stephen was pulling directly from the Old Testament. He was going directly into history in his case before this council. So we'll leave it at that for now. Lord will, you edify to next time. I'm going to say shalom.